You're not just sad. You're tired of revisiting this. Tired of the same feeling. Showing up like it didn't get the message. That you've already dealt with it. You've thought about it enough. You've processed it enough. You've had the conversations. You've had the long nights. You told yourself you moved forward. So when it returns, it doesn't just hurt. It irritates. Because it feels like wasted effort. Like emotional backtracking. Like you're stuck in a loop you didn't agree to. And the frustration isn't loud. It's quieter than that. It sounds like, why am I still like this? Shouldn't I be over this by now? How many times do I have to feel this? You're not just feeling the original emotion. You're feeling the disappointment of still having it. That second layer can feel heavier than the first. Because sadness can be held. But frustration at yourself feels harder to soften. You expected a finish line. Not necessarily a perfect one. Just a point where this would stop visiting you. A moment where the memory would feel neutral. Where the trigger would pass without catching your chest. Where you'd think about it and feel nothing. You thought healing meant arriving somewhere. Some quiet internal place where the work was done. And maybe you even believed you had reached it. There were weeks where it barely crossed your mind. Days where it felt like something that used to hurt. You built routines again. You laughed without forcing it. You felt normal in ways that once felt impossible. So tonight feels unfair. Because nothing obvious happened. No big event. No dramatic reminder. Just a small shift. Maybe a sentence someone said. Maybe a look. Maybe silence where you hoped for warmth. Maybe nothing you can even point to. And suddenly, the feeling is back. Not as chaos. Just as a familiar ache. And your first response isn't heartbreak. It's exhaustion. Because you thought you were past this part. There's a quiet expectation most of us carry. About how healing is supposed to work. We imagine it like recovering from an illness. You feel bad. You rest. You recover. And then you're better. Finished. We don't imagine getting better. Living normally for a while. And then randomly feeling symptoms again. But emotional healing doesn't follow that model. It's less like an illness. And more like learning a language. At first, everything feels impossible. Then you understand basic words. Then conversations get easier. Then one day, you realize you've gone hours without translating in your head. You think you've mastered it. And then suddenly, you hear a phrase you don't understand at all. It doesn't mean you forgot the language. It means there's still more depth to learn. Healing works like that. You don't fail because something resurfaces. You notice new layers. Because you've grown enough to see them. Triggers don't always arrive with clarity. They move quietly. A tone that reminds your nervous system of something old. A pause that feels like a past absence. A moment of vulnerability that brushes against an older wound. Your mind might not even connect the dots immediately. Your body does first. A tightness. A drop in your stomach. A heaviness behind your ribs. And then the thought follows. Not this again. It's not dramatic. It's tired. Because part of you feels like you've already done your time with this feeling. You want progress to mean permanence. You want growth to mean immunity. You want healing to mean finished. But healing doesn't grant immunity. It builds capacity. Capacity to notice sooner. Capacity to understand more clearly. Capacity to feel without collapsing. Earlier, when this feeling showed up, it may have taken over your whole day. Tonight, maybe it's taking over an hour. That difference matters. Earlier, you might have believed every thought it brought. Tonight, you're questioning them. That matters too. Progress isn't the absence of the feeling. It's the change in how you hold it. Still, it's okay that you're frustrated. Frustration doesn't mean you're ungrateful for your growth. It means you're human enough to want relief. You've carried this for a long time. Of course, you want it to be lighter by now. Of course, you hope there would be a point where it stopped visiting entirely. There's nothing wrong with that hope. But sometimes the frustration turns inward. You start negotiating with yourself. I should be stronger than this. I thought I learned my lesson. Why can't I just let this go? Notice the word "hauled." It sneaks in quietly. It creates an invisible rulebook for how your healing was supposed to unfold. A timeline you never consciously wrote, but somehow feel you're failing to meet. You compare your inner world to an imagined version of yourself who already has this fully resolved. But that version of you isn't real. It's just a picture shaped by expectation. Real healing is less tidy. It doesn't move in clean chapters. It circles. It revisits. It checks in on places that once hurt to see what still needs attention. Not because you didn't heal, because healing is ongoing. Think about a scar. It closes. It strengthens. It becomes part of your skin. But sometimes, in certain weather, you still feel it. That sensation doesn't mean the wound reopened. It means your body remembers. Emotional memory works the same way. Tonight, you're not broken. You're remembering. And remembering can feel frustrating because you expected forgetting. But healing was never about forgetting. It was about learning to live without the memory controlling you. Ask yourself quietly, is this feeling controlling you right now? Or are you noticing it, breathing through it, trying to understand it? That distinction matters because control feels like drowning. Noticing feels like standing in water that reaches your knees instead of your neck. You're still uncomfortable, but you're not disappearing. That's progress, even if it doesn't feel satisfying. The idea of a finish line is comforting. It promises closure. It suggests that if you just work hard enough emotionally, you'll arrive at a place where nothing from the past can touch you again. But emotional life isn't a race. There isn't a ribbon waiting at the end. There are just deeper levels of understanding. Sometimes you outgrow the pain. Sometimes you outgrow the story you told about the pain. And sometimes you outgrow the version of yourself who thought healing meant never feeling it again. Tonight might be one of those moments. Not a setback, a recalibration. You're realizing that healing didn't fail you. Your expectation of what healing would look like was just a little too strict. And that's okay. Most of us learn to treat emotions like problems to solve. Feel it, fix it, finish it. But some emotions aren't puzzles. They're experiences that soften slowly over time. You don't solve them once. You relate to them differently each time they appear. That can feel repetitive. But repetition isn't failure. Repetition is how integration happens. Every time the feeling returns, and you meet it with a little more patience, a little less panic, a little more understanding, something inside you stabilizes. It's subtle, not the kind of progress you can post about, but real. You might still be thinking, I just don't want to feel this anymore. That's honest. And honesty is better than pretending you're okay with it. You don't have to like the feeling. to accept that it's part of your process. Acceptance isn't approval. It's simply recognition. This is here, and I can handle it. There's a quiet question worth asking now. Not harshly, just gently. Who told you healing had a deadline? Let that sit. Was it something someone said? Something you assumed? Something you absorbed from watching others seem fine on the outside? Who decided there was a correct amount of time to finish feeling something meaningful? If the experience mattered deeply, why would the healing be shallow? If it shaped you, why would it disappear on a schedule? Maybe there was never supposed to be a deadline. Maybe there was only supposed to be movement. And movement doesn't always feel smooth. Sometimes it feels like revisiting. Sometimes it feels like pausing. Sometimes it feels like nights like this. Quiet, heavy, reflective, but still moving. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not doing healing wrong. You're doing healing honestly. And honest healing includes frustration. It includes wishing you were further along. It includes moments of being tired of your own feelings. None of that cancels your growth. It proves you're engaged in it. If you were numb, you wouldn't feel frustrated. You'd feel nothing. Frustration means you care. It means you want peace. And wanting peace is part of the path toward it. So tonight, instead of asking, why am I still like this? Maybe ask, what is this feeling trying to show me now? Not the first time. Now. Maybe it's showing you a boundary you still need. A kindness toward yourself you haven't fully practiced. A belief about your worth that's still healing. Or maybe it's simply showing you that you're human enough to carry emotional echoes for longer than you planned. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. You don't need to finish healing tonight. You don't need to promise yourself, this is the last time you'll feel this. You just need to let this moment exist, without turning it into a verdict about your progress. You are allowed to be frustrated, and you are still healing. Both can be true at the same time. Take a slow breath. Notice that you're still here, still listening, still open, still willing to sit with what's uncomfortable, instead of running from it. That willingness is quiet strength. Not flashy, not dramatic, but steady. Healing didn't fail because the feeling returned. It's working because you can face it differently now. No deadline was missed. No finish line was crossed too slowly. There was only growth. Slow, layered human growth. And you are still in it. Still moving. Still becoming someone who can hold their feelings without being ruled by them. That's not failure. That's progress you can live inside. Even tonight. Especially tonight.